Good Wednesday evening, YouTube. This is Ty Metalhead Weatherman. I hope you guys are staying safe around the severe weather threat areas that we've been underlining throughout all this week. And hopefully, those of you outside of there are having a good midweek. So, I have some good news and some bad news in regards to the severe weather. Bad news is there's severe weather. Good news is so far it seems like it's been underperforming. Now keep in mind it's still ongoing and we aren't going to count our chickens before they hatch. But overall, if we look at things, it isn't as bad as what some of us were painting it out to be. There's only been one tornado report in the past 24 hours, all the way back in eastern Oklahoma, right on the line between Oklahoma and Arkansas. We were expecting a day where there would be multiple tornadoes, some of which could be strong to violent, and a lot of damaging straight line winds. Tornado reports, this storm has, so far, it's underperformed. Damaging winds, however, different story. There's even been significant high wind reports, but all in all, we're not doing terrible right now. Like I said, keep in mind this is still ongoing, so anyone in these areas, don't let your guard down, especially as we get into the overnight. Even if you don't have 1,000 tornado reports, all it takes is one to really change your life. So, without further ado, we're going to take a closer look in the days ahead. We're going to take a quick look at the radar, and then we're going to look at Thursday and Friday. I also want to make mention, and I've done a terrible job of making mention of this upper level low here, the same one that's causing this severe weather here, has also been causing a blizzard around Montana and North Dakota, and it's worked its way through Minnesota. Wow, cannot get my states right. This is the second or third video in a row I've had problems with that. Sheesh. And then also we have a very dangerous fire threat type situation going on around the southwest, including the western parts of Texas. There are ongoing wildfires in New Mexico, and this is not expected to stop anytime soon, unfortunately. We'll take a closer look to see if there's any relief for them in sight, maybe by tomorrow's video. But meantime, we got to try to get through this severe weather. It's a lot to keep up with here. I can't keep up with it all at once. It's kind of hard, not gonna lie. So this is a current look at the radar right now. Got to go into our forecast loop here. We're just gonna take a look at the next 18 hours. If we can get this to work. There we go. Also want to mention that they also have a marginal risk here in the northeast for tonight. I don't really expect much to come of this, but there is a small chance of severe weather around here. Very shocking. Some very shocking stuff for this area, because normally during this time of year we don't have the thermodynamics or kinematics available, like suitable for severe thunderstorms of any kind. But it's been a weird year this year, so I can't put it past. I can't say it's impossible. That's for sure. So as we go into the overnight hours, this pushes its way into Birmingham, Montgomery, and Huntsville. Definitely looks like it starts to lose its luster. And then by the time we get into Thursday morning around Atlanta, does not look very impressive at all. It's very underwhelming, if anything. There is a marginal risk for severe weather around here as well tomorrow. It's not a lot. It's not a lot to be excited or nervous about at all. There might be a few impressive storms off the Florida coast here. Might make its way onshore, but nothing really to write home about or be concerned of. So we're going to move over to the NAM and take a look a little bit further into the long range and kind of push towards the weekend here. Now, as I was saying, you can even see here before I go into the loop here, you can look at the current temperatures right now around this area. We're sitting at 80 degrees around the Delmarva Peninsula, around Philly, and around New York. Are you serious? We're sitting in the 70s and 80s in April. These are unseasonably warm temperatures. So we'll go to the loop here and see what that looks like for tomorrow. And you can even, and also, as I've been saying before, you can even see where our thunderstorms are right now based on the dramatic temperature change here. Because this is basically our boundary right here. The 80s out ahead of the 80s and, well, probably this point now, 70s out ahead of the storms. And then right behind the storms, we're getting into the 50s and 40s and much colder temperatures further behind it. So we'll move this along as far as we can because it looks like it's taking its sweet time to load. If it even responds. There we go. Now we're getting somewhere. Oh, wow. She is not wanting to work with me, is she? Dang. There we go. Having a lot of problems with my computer right now. Maybe I should have just kept it where I had it. Oh, wow. So even into the overnight hours ahead of the storms, you still have more than suitable enough temperatures for severe weather. Just the instability isn't there anymore. And even when we get into Thursday morning, the temperatures don't really drop too much around the Northeast. We're still getting into the early to mid-morning hours, and we're still looking at low to mid 60s around areas like New York City. Maybe towards the coast you might get into the 50s, but it's not really dropping too much. Dang. Trying to get this thing to work here. I don't know what's going on with this computer tonight. There we go. Oh wow, it's going haywire. Now it's really going haywire here. So we get towards the early afternoon and we're already starting to creep back up into the 70s, into the 80s. What in the world? It's still not loading. Might need to refresh this real quick. I'm going to reload this and try to exit out of this screen here. Maybe this will help it move along a bit. Alright, that did it. Gotta love the technical difficulties part of the game here. So we get into the early afternoon hours here, and you can even see we're getting right back into the 80s like we were today, and right along, and you can see where this boundary is, because right behind where this front is, we're getting into more seasonable temperatures around the Northeast. So there is potential for some severe weather here. There is a slight risk for this area tomorrow. There isn't a very high tornado threat. This is definitely a damaging straight line wind threat. In fact, it's less than 2% in all areas. And right around the coast, just like we were saying on the reflectivity model, it's a small area, 15% for a 15% chance of damaging winds within a 25-mile point of a given area. This is Philadelphia, New York, and Springfield, Massachusetts that's in play here. Dang, got a lot of phlegm in my throat right now. I apologize. There is not much of a hail threat. There is a small hail threat right around the southeastern coast. Probably overdone in my opinion, because I think the storms will really just be out of gas at this point by the time they get here. I mean, because if we think about it, this storm system is formed all the way back here, and it's traveling all the way across the eastern half of the country. And the further east we push, the less favorable the atmosphere is. So we'll move this a little bit further along, and we also have, and also I want to make mention of a severe weather threat on Friday. It's a minimal one. It's a very marginal one, literally because it's a marginal risk. And we have areas like Greenville, Little Rock, Tulsa in line for a marginal threat of severe weather. A little bit early to see what the hazards look like. There's an upper level low that's supposed to be coming in later this week. We'll go into it a little bit further tomorrow when I do the weekend and I'll try to work at the weekend forecast. So based off what I'm seeing here, there is most likely going to be a damaging wind threat from this based off this brief summary from the National Weather Service and Storm Prediction Center. So we'll go back to the temperature model here. We'll take a look at the temperatures real quick, just kind of get an idea of what the atmosphere could potentially be like. Definitely more 70s and 80s, not surprising. Definitely looks like there's going to be a surge of moisture from the Gulf, just from even looking at the temperature map. So that says it all right there. And that's pretty much towards the end of our model run. Take a quick look at the dew points. We'll go into the reflectivity map, and then we will call it an evening here. Do apologize for that long wait. And even when you look at current dew points right now around the Northeast, we're unseasonably moist. We're sitting at 50s and 60s around New York. I mean, that's not exactly uncommon, but the combination of warmth and dew points during this time of year is a little bit surprising for me. And you can actually even see it continuing to build as we push further into Thursday morning here. We do get a little area of 60s right around where that slight risk develops. We're hanging into the low 60s, more than sufficient enough for severe weather. Damaging straight line winds comes through with the front probably, and then just as quickly as it shows up, it moves out. And then Friday, we watch this surge of moisture come back into the south central plains. And I think this builds into a late evening severe weather threat for Friday, especially around central and southern Arkansas. I also think this threat will be a damaging straight line wind event. Hopefully it will not be too massive in nature. So let's take a look at the reflectivity for tomorrow. I'm pretty much expecting a line of storms for both of these events. I also am curious to see just how much further they expect how much further the NAM expects these storms to go on for in comparison to the HRRR. So we'll move this along. Still a pretty formidable line of storms into the overnight. But once we get towards Alabama, same as the HRRR, we kind of lose a lot of its luster. Maybe towards southern Mississippi, you might have some supercells, but the main damaging wind threat rolls through the southeast by mid-morning, early afternoon maybe. And then you might get a slight resurgence in the deep south into the evening and into the overnight hours, but I expect that to be minimal. And then late in the day, into the mid-afternoon, into the evening hours, that's where our line of storms will develop, and I'm expecting some straight line damaging winds around the Long Island area. So we move along here, and then we wait until probably late evening hours on Friday. So the NAM actually shows something a little bit interesting here. It's looking like it's favoring more Missouri. Can't really take a look at the HRRR at this point because we're still too far out. So it'll be interesting to see how much this changes. So I don't know. And it doesn't really look very impressive here. So far away from the low pressure system. There was mention of a dry line developing, but I think that's going to be a little bit too far south to really make a difference here. We do look like we also get a low pressure that forms up in Canada and causes the lake effect machine to open up here, and we get some snow squalls around the Great Lakes regions. So move this along this weekend, and maybe on the backside of the storm system for some of those same areas that may get a little bit of damaging winds, you might get snow the follow. We might get some snow showers on the following day. How about that? But that's the end of our model run, and that's all I got for you guys tonight. This has been Ty, your Metalhead Weatherman. Like, comment, subscribe. Or I might have just said subscribe twice, but okay, definitely subscribe too. There, I said it 3 times. Kept it nice and odd. But anyway, you guys stay safe and have a good night. See you tomorrow.